Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to work on handstand and we'll be positioning the hands in 4 different ways. And before we move on, please go ahead, subscribe to this channel and hit the thumbs up button. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. It's quite common that there can be a challenge kicking up all the way into the full arm balance, handstand. And so today, because we're going to be working on the hand positions, we're going to do what we'd call a preparation for handstand. We'll be utilizing the chair and a bolster, and I've got a sandbag to help anchor the chair so that it doesn't slip away from us. I'll place the sandbag on the back of the seat, and I want to make sure that this is a good distance from the bolster, not quite my leg's length, but somewhere near my leg's length. So if I stand with the bolster against the wall and my legs back to the bolster, I want to be able to bring my heel up onto the front of the seat. Now you'll see my heel is in the middle of the seat, so I'm going to move the chair back so that again, when I bring my heel up, it's coming more to the front of the seat there. Now, of course, you don't want it too far away from you. The idea is we're going to be weight bearing through the arms, placing the hands down and letting the head and the back body rest against the bolster. But we can use a belt for support. Now, oftentimes students find this can be really helpful around the elbow. So if you make your loop in your belt shoulder width apart, then you can put that around your elbow tips, place the hands out in front of you and make sure that your hands are shoulder width apart with the belt taut. So that can be helpful in supporting the arms, particularly if you feel weak in the arms and the shoulders. Now, when we set up, we'll be placing the hands forward facing. By that I mean facing the wall, fingers forward facing. That's the classic presentation of handstand. So the hands will be alongside the bolster, but just a little forward. So if I work with the heel of the hand a little forward of the line of the bolster, then when I prepare to lift my hips up, I let the head descend and I lean the back of the head and my upper back into the bolster. Then I'm going to pick the feet up and step the feet onto the front of the seat. Now here, I don't want to be pulling the hips towards the feet and working the heels down. I want to lift the heels up and pull the hips back towards the wall. And that is going to prevent the chair from slipping. So the more you can pull your hips back towards the wall, the more you'll feel your middle back coming to the bolster, and the more you'll be bringing your hips vertically top the shoulders. That's what we're looking for. So you'll see here we've got the hands forward facing, fingers pointing towards the wall, and we're working to straighten the elbows. Then we can step down. So with care, step down and let the belt come off the arms. Keep your feet hip width apart. So we do a variation of Uttanasana, a resting variation. So now we want the wrists to relax. You've got the back of the hands on the floor. If they don't reach the floor, you could potentially put bricks here so the back of the hands can rest on the bricks. Or another way of resting is you want to keep the head down. And so we do a seated position where, again, the wrists are relaxed. Now, we could just keep the head down and continue on with the next hand position, but I'm going to sit up because I just want to talk about this. When we weight bear through the arms and the hands, clearly there's a lot of weight coming into the wrist. It's a pretty small joint, and in the beginning, the wrists might not like that. It is a matter of building up strength as well as flexibility in that particular joint. But what could be helpful for some people is having a slanted wedge underneath the heel of the hand. So the heel of the hand is raised somewhat relative to the knuckles, and that can sometimes take pressure out of the wrists. But now the second variation of the hand positioning is turning the hands out. Now, if you feel like it's just too odd and uncomfortable in the shoulders particularly, then somewhere between completely turned out and forward facing. So find your way somewhere along that trajectory. And again, you can use the belt. You don't have to. It's an option to offer support to the arms, and that may mean you can stay longer. Often I like to practice staying for at least 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds. And I'll sometimes work with a clock there so I can gauge the time. So we've got the hands again, but this time turn the hands out completely from, let's say this is 0 degrees, turn them out 90 degrees if you can. But as I said, if that feels too odd, somewhere between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. Perhaps you do 45 degrees. And again, the heels of the hands are just forward of the line of the bolster, and then the head descends, back of the head, shoulder blades lean into the bolster, and you step your feet up onto the chair. So the feet are on the front of the chair and you pull the heels back towards the hips and the hips back towards the wall. So you're trying to bring the hips vertically top the shoulders. Then the action in the arms is such that you're driving the arms and the hands down into the floor. You push away from the floor, squeeze the elbow tips in, and see if you can get a feeling of the torso, the rib cage gliding up underneath the shoulder blades, up towards the ceiling. And then we can step down. So again, we can rest, let the belt come off the elbows, the feet can be hip width apart. You can rest here in Uttanasana, you're keeping the head down. The back of the hands are on the floor or on bricks so that the wrists can rest. Now, the next variation is to turn the hands in. So we've had forward-facing hands, hands turned out 90 degrees. Now we turn them in. So they're 90 degrees in from that forward-facing position. You'll need to change the position of the belt such that you give yourself a bit more space. So you've got, again, elbow tips supported with the belt, and then you turn the palms in, turn the fingers in, and settle the palms down, and then you lean into your belt. Now, if you, you lean into your bolster, but if you find that your belt slackens, then just tighten it up again. So the wrists are shoulder width. Yeah, you want to set the hands such that the wrists are shoulder width. And again, you can lean into the bolster, so that upper back area leaning into the bolster, and step your feet up. Now notice each time you step your feet up, you're going to have a favored leg. One leg will want to step up first all the time. So alternate which leg you step up with. And then again, rather than letting the weight pull towards the feet, towards the chair, can you lift the heels up, pull the heels up and back towards the wall, and draw your hips up and back towards the wall. And then again, you want to work the arms significantly, pushing the arms and the hands into the floor, squeezing the elbow tips in, and drawing the torso up. So it's as if the torso is rebounding up away from the floor as you drive the arms and hands down into the floor. And now step down. You're going to have a favorite leg that wants to step down first as well. So just notice that. Which is your preferred leg that wants to step down? Can you alternate each time you step down? So again, let's rest, whether you're resting in Uttanasana, the back of the hands on the floor, or whether it suits you to be sitting and doing a variation of what we call Malasana with the back of the hands resting. We take a few breaths. And now we prepare for the next hand position. Now this time the hands are turned back completely. So a 180-degree turn from that original position. And again, if it's helpful, you can use your belt, make sure it's measured well so that it's not slackening when you weight bear. So now the hands turn completely back, fingers pointing towards the chair, and the heels of the hands are just slightly forward of the bolster. And then you've got to commit to leaning into the bolster as you weight bear through your arms and hands. Then step up with your alternate leg. Pull the heels back, draw the hips back, and you feel the rotation in the upper arms. It's helping to roll the tricep muscles forward towards the chair. Then again, this idea of pushing the arms and the hands down into the floor to rebound the torso up, away from the floor. And continue to draw your hips back towards the wall. And then we can step down. So alternate leg, stepping down first, and remove your belt. And again, relax the wrists. Observe your breath. Slow the breath down. And then when you're ready, you can come to standing up. Now, that's a great way of approaching the different hand positions without feeling the pressure of having to kick up all the way. But those who feel capable and want to give it a try, we are going to kick the legs up to the wall with those different hand positions. So let's move these props out of the way. However, I will just add, some students find it's really helpful to have the bolster behind them even when they're kicking up, because they can land into the bolster, so to speak, as they're making that effort to take themselves up. So if that's you, if you want to keep the bolster there, fine. Now, earlier when we were practicing with the chair and the bolster, I was referencing noticing which leg wants to step up onto the chair first, which leg wants to step down first. Because we do have one side of the body that is often stronger and more dominant, we're going to always refer to that when we're kicking up or stepping up. So when it comes to handstand, often in the beginning, because it can be a challenge, we'll kick up with our preferred leg, our stronger leg. But in time, we want to actually alternate the legs that we kick up with. So let's say I like kicking up with my right leg first, because my left leg is the stronger leg. That's the leg that's going to propel me up off the floor. Then in time, I want to be able to swap that. So I'm kicking up off my right leg. And if you continue practicing that, each time you practice handstand, you're going to be developing the body more symmetrically, and it will end up that you will actually not know which is your more dominant side to kick up to. And even if in the beginning it feels really odd and you just don't get any momentum to lift up, it's still worthwhile practicing, because in time it does come. So handstand with the classic position, hands forward facing, fingers facing the wall. Again, you can use your belt. That can often give you some support. And I'm going to bring my clock in just so I can keep an eye on how long we're holding, and we'll intend to hold for 30 seconds. So I've got my clock in place. You won't be able to see it, but I can see it, and I'll be able to see it when I'm upside down. And of course, if you can't hold for 30 seconds, that's fine. You do what you can. So we've got the belt, if you're using it, around the elbow tips, and the hands set shoulder width apart. Now the distance between the wall that I place the fingers is usually about my middle finger's length. Okay, so then we set the hands, forward facing hands, and you prepare. So you'll kick up with your favoured leg first. A strong and swift exhalation will help you exert the effort to get up. Ideally, the shoulders are coming over the wrist, but in the beginning, you might find you need the shoulders back, and as you prepare to kick up, the shoulders then can come over the wrists with that momentum. So you inhale and exhale. Kick up, find the wall, and slide the heels up the wall. Get those inner feet together. Roll the inner thighs back, but lift the tailbone up. So as the heels are pressing into the wall, press the buttocks forward away from the wall. Direct your tailbone up towards your heels. Then, aware of the placement of the hands, heels of the hands, and knuckles of the fingers, and pads of the fingers, all pressing down. Now that's 30 seconds. Now your leg that you kicked off, bring that down first. Okay, and then we rest in Uttanasana, so you can remove the belt. Again, that position where we can relax the wrists. If it's difficult to get the back of the hands onto the floor like so, bend your knees, or bring your bricks in under your hands so that your wrists can rest in this position. So we take a few breaths. And then we go for that next hand position. So the next hand position will be turning the hands out like so. And again, if you can't get all the way out to that 90 degrees, somewhere towards 90 degrees is good. And so you'll note I've got the fingers spread, and I was referencing before, heels of the hands, knuckles of the fingers, pads of the fingers. So there can be a slight action of bending the knuckles here so that the pads of the fingers can help stabilize. So again, you can put your belt on if you're using your belt. And then you set your hands with the fingers turned out, and you prepare to kick with your alternate leg if possible. So at least 3 attempts kicking up with your alternate leg, and after 3, if you still haven't managed, then go back to your favored leg. Deep inhalation. Swift exhalation to find your way up. If it doesn't work first time, go again. Find your way and slide the heels up the wall, press the buttocks away from the wall. So I start the timing of 30 seconds once I'm up. Slide the heels up, press the buttocks forward. Tailbone up, and feel the elbow tips squeeze in. Arms strong and straight. So you're pushing the arms and hands into the floor, rebounding the torso up away from the floor. Breathing smoothly. Then the leg that you kicked off, bring that down first. And then we come to rest in Uttanasana. So feet are hip width. You move the belt. Relax the back of the hands onto the floor or onto your bricks. Smooth, steady breathing. Now we go for that next hand position, which is turning the hands in. So then once you set your hands like so, and it's even good to just practice like this in Uttanasana with, even if you need to bend the knees, just preparing your hands, preparing your arms for this, because it does feel quite unusual if you're not used to it. So even not kicking up, just practicing. Again, if this feels like you're just not going to manage, somewhere between the forward facing and all the way in. And then you work in increments each time you practice to get yourself back there to, that original position, turning the hands all the way in. Now, you might find that you need to loosen your belt a little bit if you want to set your wrists out a little bit wider. Again, we come back to our favored leg. And once more, we want to use a swift exhalation to lift up. So inhale and exhale, kick up. And so again, push away from the floor. For some people, it's helpful to look towards the floor between the hands. Others, between the arms and looking forward. But again, you push away from the floor, lift the rib cage up, lift the hips up, slide the heels up the wall. Steady your breath. Then with your favored leg, that comes down first. And we rest once more. Uttanasana. You can remove the belt and relax the wrists. Observe the quality of your breath. Often in handstand we can get puffed. Sometimes the breath might be held when we kick up. It is common. If I go to assist a student in kicking up, they'll take the inhalation, but then they'll hold the breath to kick. They won't exhale to kick. And as you're holding the pose, of course, you want to be able to breathe consistently, steadily, so that you can sustain the pose for as long as you wish. Now we go for the next variation, which is hands turned back. So just have a little play with that first before you kick up. The fingers are pointing all the way back towards the feet now. And again, if it just feels too strong or too unusual, somewhere between that turn out of 90 degrees and all the way back. So somewhere on the way to having the fingers pointing all the way back. Now, what can be helpful is having the hands just a little distance away from the wall when we do this. And again, the belt can be supportive. So we can turn the hands back as much as we feel we can manage. And as I said, a bit of distance between your hands and the wall can be of benefit. Now, with your alternate leg, now this could be quite tricky because it's a challenging hand position, and the body-mind might just say, this is too weird, I can't manage it, let alone trying to manage with an alternate leg kick. So if you need to, you go back to your favoured leg, but if you can manage, you try with your alternate leg. And again. Then if you need to, you go back to your favoured leg. And eventually we might find our way up. And so again, breathe. You can choose which leg to come down. And we rest, remove the belt, and relax the wrists. I invite you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That keeps me going. And if you like practicing with me, I invite you to check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. There are over 400 full-length classes in that library, and I'm adding a new class every week. You can start your subscription with a 7-day free trial. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.